fact that mayoral candidate Bill Thompson received another big endorsement today is our Power Panel journalists Judy Licht and Lynne White. And I kind of just can't wait to unleash you two. So great to see you both.
Good to see you.
Solid script.
It's really mind-boggling. Judy, let's start with you. There's so much to discuss. Let's just start with your general reaction. We kind of talked about it on yesterday's show, but obviously it's all people are talking about, that Spitzer is now running.
And he is definitely...
We think, if he gets those signatures.
Well,
but,
we're assuming.
Yes.
He is definitely, you should pardon the expression, piggybacking on Weiner's run. And I think we are, this is part of the song, Who Shall I Turn To? I mean, how have we gotten candidates this bad? On a serious note, I mean, it's funny, if you don't laugh, you want to cry. But it's not even the sexual scandals that should make us unhappy. The fact that we have a guy who's a rich guy who bought an election, is a spoiled brat, never ran a business on his own, and then became governor where he called himself an effing steamroller and made no friends with anyone, the terrible governor. They've got a guy running for mayor, okay, who was in Congress, and the New York Times, which is a big Democratic newspaper, just did an article, front page article on Weiner, saying he was a terrible legislator. He only did one bill, and he was mostly a publicity hound. So forget the sexual scandals. This is what we have as candidates.
Well, and talking about real candidates and real issues, Lynne, I mean, obviously now everyone is just talking about the personalities and the scandals, and the other candidates who were running before, Christine Quinn, she's kind of on the attack now, but trying to go back to at least the records. And Scott Stringer is talking about this, and Bill Thompson.
Yeah.
Will this race ever go back to the issues at this point?
America loves a comeback story, and they're trying to see how far these guys can come back. But you've got Eliot Spitzer going head-to-head with a former madam that he probably frequented, as a customer. And you've got Weiner, and you've got Mark Sanford, the guy who was governor of South Carolina and became a member of that outstanding group of people in Congress. So is this kind of the requirement now to be a politician? Have a scandal, come back, and then rule the world? I think it's all about the ego.
Well, and let's talk about the people who are trying to kind of crawl out from under all of the news of the scandals, and that is someone like Bill Thompson, who was just endorsed by the Firefighters Union. He's been endorsed by the Teachers Union. Is that kind of enough to overcome all the loudness around him? Are people paying attention to things like that?
I would hope so. This is one area where Lynne and I actually agree, although politically we're quite apart. I like Bill Thompson. I would prefer Joe Lhota, but I don't think he has a chance because he's not charismatic enough, although I love where he stands on all the issues. I think Bill Thompson really gets it right. I would hope that after all the Bryn circuses, all the, the ridiculousness of the other candidates, people will grow up and see this is a guy who really understands things. I mean, this is a guy who worked in the private sector as well as the public sector. This is a guy who, as a minority, has complained about the style of stop and frisk, but not the substance of stop and frisk, because he knows it helps the minority community as well as every place else. And I think this is a man who's thoughtful and who people will really, I think, once they learn more about him, like.
Well, recent polling does have him kind of in the top 3, trailing behind Weiner and Quinn, but still in there. So how could he kind of take the lead? What does he need to do?
Time, that's all. I mean, we really need to talk about this a lot closer to the election. Anything can happen between now and then. And I think the real news here is, what are we showing our kids? Who are the kids that are growing up now? They're looking at these candidates and saying, well, gee, when I grow up, do I want to be a politician? No, that's lower than a snake right now. And I don't know how you change that, because
now it's just kind of fodder for late night comedians,
well,
and they're serious races.
Starting with Bill Clinton, who's now the most popular
Can I just say one thing? The worst thing, though, was back in 1922 in Boston, Mayor Curley got elected while he was in jail serving time for felony. So it can get lower.
Could be next.
All right. Hopefully we've moved onward and upward from there. Thank you both. Always great to see you. Thanks for being on the show. Well, talking about voting, lever machines will make a comeback this September. Governor Cuomo signed a bill allowing